Welcome to Conversations in Courage with your girl, Imani Capri, the #1 energy elevation coach. You are listening to the #1 power platform celebrating courage, healing, resilience, transformation, love, and joy. This is also the place where I interview interesting people who are doing powerful, positive things with a courageous spirit, not only in Northeast Ohio, but all around the globe. So like I say every week, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, out of your morning to join me here on the show. I hope you have had a good start to your morning. Listen, y'all are going to be excited because I'm kicking back off my interviews. We done had quite a few episodes of me just sharing reflections on various topics as I've been going through recovering from my shoulder surgery and not trying to overwork myself. And I said, I'm gonna ease back into interviews. So I have a special treat for you today. I'm so excited about the guest who is joining us. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He is a committed teacher, midnight believer, and a slow jam in a hip hop world. He is a Bass Fellow in undergraduate education and a professor of education in African and African American studies at Stanford University. He serves as the faculty director of the program in writing and rhetoric and the Institute for Diversity in the Arts, and as an affiliate faculty member of the program in science, technology, and society. Prior to arriving at Stanford, he served on the faculty of the Department of Writing, Rhetoric, and Digital Studies at the University of Kentucky and the Syracuse University Writing Program. In addition to these academic appointments, he served as the Langston Hughes Visiting Professor of English at the University of Kansas, and jointly with Andrea Lunsford as the inaugural Rocky Gooch Visiting Professors for the Breadloaf School of English. He is a former national chair of the Conference on College Composition and Communication and the founder of Smitherman Villanueva Scholarly Writing Retreat, designed for emerging scholars of color working on their first book in areas related to rhetoric, composition, language, and literacy. He is the author of Digital Griots, African American Rhetoric in a Multimedia Age and Race, Rhetoric and Technology, Searching for Higher Ground, which was awarded the Computers and Composition 2007 Best Book Award. His most recent book is a collaborative effort with Keith Gilliard on African American rhetoric, and is currently working on his fourth book under advanced contract with Routledge, titled Black Intranets: Dimensions of African American Digital Rhetoric. He is also the professor of UnBar University, which some of y'all may be hip to. Who am I referring to? None other than a new friend and associate, Dr. Adam Banks. Dr. Adam Banks, welcome to Conversations in Courage with your girl, Imani Capri. How you feeling today?
I'm wonderful, Imani Capri, and thank you very much for blessing me with a chance to be on your platform and to interact with you and your members of your audience.
Absolutely. So excited to have you here. I met you, a couple weeks ago at a kickback at a should I say a student or a mutual friend's home. And she said, oh yeah, this is the professor of our class at UnBar. And then I started putting two and two together. And I said, oh, that's the guy that Unity Powell wrote an article about when I was the managing editor for the Cleveland Observer, and I edited her article. I've been hearing so many things about UnBar University. So maybe let's start there for our listeners. Now, quite a few people are hip to UnBar University, but for the listener that knows nothing about UnBar University and how UnBar University came into being, share with us, Dr. Banks, what is the UnBar University and how did it become into being a reality here in Cleveland or Larchmere, Ohio?
So the name, the informal name that folks have given this effort by calling it UnBar University is such a sign of affection, and it fills me with joy that that's something that people who participated in our sessions, you can call them sessions, you can call them ciphers, that we've been doing for the last 2+ years. It's really gratifying, to be able to have that experience. But to explain the effort, the short version is that they're free community classes, usually based on condensed versions of classes I teach at Stanford. And so the idea is to be able to create a space that's primarily about building community first, but also building space where we can connect intellectually, where we can talk about issues that matter to us in a space that's safe for, and when I say us, I'm talking about Black folks in this case, for us, no matter who we are, no matter where we're coming from, where we can all be safe, where we can all be affirmed, where we can think together. And my reason for that is that anything that we might think about in terms of action for liberation, action for change that matters for us, is my view that any chance we're going to have for that is going to grow out of people actually having meaningful community with each other. Yes. So a lot of the institutions that we're used to, those of us who are elder millennials, Gen X or older, those all have dissipated for a lot of reasons, right? People have moved all over the place. The digital, we do so much online. A lot of those institutions that we're used to don't exist or don't exist in the same ways. And it's gotten to such a point that I love to quote De La Soul on this: neighborhoods are now hoods because nobody's neighbors, right? So how do we rebuild community? How do we rebuild third spaces that are for us? And so that's the idea behind what's affectionately called UnBar University. Our topics usually have something to do with the intersection, the ways that language, culture, and technology come together. Where can we think about tech issues in a space that is based on our perspectives and what we need? How do we think about language issues in ways that don't dehumanize us, like a lot of what happens in formal education settings, where Black language patterns, or what we used to call dialect, but now we refer to as AAE or AAVE, African American Vernacular English, get denigrated, and students are told they're not writing correctly. And so where language, culture, and technology come together, those are our topics. For this quarter, we're going to look at how living our lives online and building a collective agenda can come together. We'll be reading Ruha Benjamin's book, Imagination, a Manifesto. And so the last thing I'll say about this is that these sessions, these ciphers, if you want to think about it as an elevated kind of book club, it's sort of that too. The books are always free. The refreshments are always free. What I'm always looking for is people who love Black people and have a sense or a sensibility of wanting us to get free or freer. And that's what I aim for in building the space.
Listen, when I read Unity's article, and this was like several years ago, I thought, this is so dope. A year and a half ago, yep. Yeah, but now that I have had the opportunity to experience at least one session and plan to participate in the next, I guess, cohort, should we call it a cohort, upcoming, this is such a beautiful and I think right on time effort. Because look at everything that is happening in the United States politically, the very intentional, organized, deliberate effort to remove Black studies, remove Black history, remove almost Black anything from higher education, the banning of books. The dismantling and breaking apart of the Department of Education. There's how we have been targeted in so many different ways. As I love to watch Roland Martin, fellow journalist and member of National Association of Black Journalists, which I'm also a member of. He talks about this administration and Project 2025 being designed and what they have been doing to defund Black America. Right. And how that will impact us now and into the future. And so something like UnBar University creating an intentional space for community that can foster the seeds for next level liberation, whatever that may look like in different ways. And for all of that to be free is like so beautiful, so warm, so healing, and like so on time. Can you talk about like when this first started and the young lady, is her name Melissa, who is the owner
Of UnBar.
of UnBar, and how you all came together to make this real for the community?
Yeah, so the start of the Cleveland effort was a little bit more than 2 years ago in January of 24. And I've been rocking with Melissa and UnBar Cafe since she first opened in January of 2020. I just love the concept. I love the fact that she was building a warm space, a space that was about neighborhood, a space that was about community. And so she and I had had conversations about what I would like to do there for a long time. And then once I finally figured out how I could do it and getting back and forth from the West Coast, I approached her with a more formal version, said, hey, this is what we like to do in building the space for us, but also in supporting the cafe, right? Because I wanted something that didn't feel like we've done things in churches, I've done things in other places, but I wanted something that felt open to everybody. And she was enthusiastic. She was with it from the very beginning. And she's always enjoyed what we've done there. I got to give you a little bit of a longer history, though, because I've been doing versions of this everywhere I've taught. So when I was in Syracuse, we did it for 6 years. In Syracuse, and what they called it there was the village movement. And we were at a neighborhood spot. There was sort of a restaurant, had a little bar, a little night spot attached to it called The Groove on the south side of Syracuse. When I was in Lexington at University of Kentucky, for 3+ of my 5 years there, we had efforts going, some of them were in church basements, some of them were at a Black-owned bookstore called The Wild Fig. Shout out to their owners, Crystal Wilkinson and Ron Davis, when they were running it. So I'm sharing that background to say this has always been part of what I care about and what I think academic work ought to be about. One way that I described it was when I was coming through grad school and when I finished, you had a lot of people on the scene as public intellectuals, right?
Yes.
They believed in kind of getting out. They were media savvy. They were on the lecture circuit and stuff like that. And many of these folks have real gifts, but I knew that wasn't my lane. As we jokingly say, that ain't my ministry. I wanted to be somebody who was bringing that scholarly work directly to the people in spaces that we occupy. I feel like intellectual work for our community shouldn't have to be, behind some paywall or, a ticketed event, or you got to go somewhere that doesn't quite feel natural. I wanted to build something that gets that work directly in front of our folks where we can read together, think together. But again, always free. And so 2004 was the first one that I did in Syracuse. And so there have been versions of this kind of work ever since. There was a big gap when I got to Stanford because, and I do some volunteering and I do some similar work out there on the West Coast too with Street Code Academy. But the thing that was burning in my soul, if you will, was even if our folk are struggling in parts of the Bay Area, that's the wealthiest place in the world, and I wanted to pour love into home for us. We're very resource rich people, and Cleveland's a resource rich city, but it's not a wealthy city, right? And so in the Bay Area, there are all kinds of resources that people have to pull on there. I wanted to do something for home. So that's how that came together here in the beginning of 2024.
I love that. And you share with me an article that I want to just read the beginning of it for the listener to help set the stage for people to really understand your commitment and dedication to doing UnBar University, because you don't live in Cleveland full time. So this is an article that came from wordandblack.com. Every other weekend, give or take, Stanford University professor Dr. Adam Banks boards a jetliner for a 4-hour, 40-minute flight from the San Francisco Bay Area to Cleveland, his hometown, to teach Black history and concepts to eager students. His topics range from the influence of digital technology on the Black experience to Afrofuturism, Black music, and literature. His classroom, though, isn't on the campus of Cleveland State University, Banks's alma mater. In fact, it isn't at any of the city's other 19 colleges and universities. The fact that you do this, every other weekend, 4 hours and 40 minutes?
Sometimes every week, like last quarter. Yeah.
Okay. Dedication. Serious dedication. How is it that you and Melissa were able to make this free for the community?
There are a couple of things that happen. So we spend money with UnBar because we believe in supporting Black-owned businesses, and that's how that relationship started. Okay. The funding sources, there are a couple of things. So basically, there's a combination of some stuff that I do personally, but then I'm also able to use a little bit of money from Stanford to do it. So what happens, faculty at research universities, we get a small research fund, that might be, some places might be $4,000, $5,000 a year. And we use that money to go to conferences. We use that money to get supplies, that help us continue our research. And so I use about half of that money along with some of my own in order to do it. And so kind of using the university's resources and, bringing my own commitment to it as well. But I say that to say that I'm not out here seeking grants from anybody. I tell people every time we start one of our sessions or courses that I will never ask them for money for anything that I'm doing that's in the spirit of community. Being able to make that available is an important part of what I'm trying to offer.
It's such a beautiful thing. And having experienced one session of that really made me kind of emotional, because not only for the beauty of it, right, and the sense of community felt there, but the solution of it also too. I volunteer in the juvenile detention center on a regular basis, 93rd and Quincy. I am in politics in my local city in Maple Heights. I move in a lot of different places and spaces. And one thing that I observe that happens here in Cleveland is that there is a class disconnect, right? And between those of us who may have at one time lived in urban Cleveland or in some of the more economically struggling areas of Cleveland and gotten out, or some who never lived in that space and have not gone through any of those struggles that some of our brothers and sisters in more urban Cleveland have gone through. But it's like those who have made it out, or some of us who are in a better position in terms of maybe resources or economic situation or education, it doesn't seem like there's a critical mass of us bridging the gap, right? There's still a lot of us that are struggling with literacy, that are struggling probably with mental health issues, just what our city may look like, especially a predominantly Black population city with Black leadership, how different Cleveland might look if there were more initiatives like UnBar University, what we're seeing happen there. Not to, disregard any of the work that any other great organizations or people are doing, but it just was such a beautiful thing to experience and see in the time that we're living in Cleveland's unique makeup. I'll let you respond to that before we go on to the next question.
Yeah, well, I mean, one, just thank you for the warm response from having been able to connect with us and what you saw among the people. One of the things that I'm most proud of when it comes to the effort is not necessarily what I think I'm doing, but what happens when you see, so if we've got 30, 35, sometimes 40 people coming out every week or every other week, and we build that experience, when you see people make connections with each other and you see those connections grow into
Yes.
other things where they're pursuing their interests together, where they're gathering some people together, when you see those outgrowths, like that's the stuff that really fills me with joy, along with what we're doing in our space. But to your point about the need for more, where we do direct community building together, one of the things that I share with people who take the sessions with me, we don't have to have a whole Black Panther Party 10-point plan for liberation.
Yes.
We don't have to have what Baba Don Friedman and Max Stanford, known as Muhammad Ahmad, had in terms of their real global perspective when they built the Revolutionary Action Movement. We don't have to have the structure that SNCC or Ella Baker or Angela Davis or people who worked with King had. But if we have one idea that we're prepared to build on, that's just straight up in service of our people.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Not the side hustle, but I love people having their side hustles and their passion projects to make them money. We need that too. But just to say, what's my one thing that I have to give my people?
Yes.
And we work toward that in that spirit of service, in that spirit of, I don't know if it's going to be great or not, but this is what I have and I'm going to give it. I think if we can develop more of that sensibility, you can get a lot of cluster efforts. Somebody might like gardening. They might want to build community through gardening, right?
Yes.
Somebody might love music. You could build a lot of community with folks just thinking through what's happening in music together. Yes. There are a lot of different ways that folks can do that. And if we have these third spaces, if we get those to grow where people are actually thinking together and reading together too, given what you were saying about literacy, the spillover effects can be really, really great. And so I guess my response to your question or to what you were saying there is to use what we're talking about as encouragement for your listeners. That one thing that they really care a lot about, or that one thing that you're passionate about, if you're listening, or viewing, what are the ways that you can actually take part of that and put it in that broader, collective pot, so that we can all grow from it?
Thank you for sharing that, because the last few months here on the show, I have been talking about ways that we can reclaim and retain our power and peace in the midst of all this chaos. And two things I've consistently been emphasizing is getting in community, building community, contributing to community, but also identifying one thing that you really care about and contributing to that particular cause, or identifying the thing that you care about and contributing to that, instead of getting constantly gaslit by the chaos and the cruelty that is happening politically within the country, right? And I also have been feeling that what we see happening in the United States is the old is collapsing. And instead of getting caught up in kind of like, oh my God, the idea of America that so many of us have clung to, we are now seeing that was kind of always an illusion, but it's really becoming clear, like that wasn't ever fully real, right? And so now it's being exposed even more. And the truth, the devastating ugliness is being exposed even more. And that's very triggering for a lot of people. And so what I try to encourage people to think about, especially since this platform is dedicated to courage, healing, resilience, transformation, love, and joy, is that what we have the opportunity now is to create the new America, to build the new America. And the thing about democracy becoming real, it starts at the grassroots level. It starts with something like UnBar University. It starts with talk to your damn neighbors. Like, do you even know
Yes, indeed.
who lives next door to you? You know what I'm saying? So I think that was another thing that really struck me about going to the session that I was able to participate in at UnBar University. It was like that experience is a masterclass on so many different levels. Not only is it just like a warm embrace as a Black person to be like, I'm safe here. Like I can just relax here. Like I don't have to be on edge. I can just be. And oh my God, like somebody thought enough. I could just come and I could just have whatever I want. I don't even have to go in my pocket. Where do we get to go and be taken care of like that? Right. And then on top of that, considering that there are more than 300,000 Black women that were let go from their jobs.
Yeah, what was the stat?
You have no idea.
Out of everybody who was let go were Black women?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and quite a few of the participants that I saw in your sessions are Black women, right? So I just, and a beautiful thing too, to see Black men and Black women interacting together in a very healthy, loving, fun, respectful way. Not that our community has always had that, but I think that like we need to strengthen and expand that energy like even more, right? So we see people coming together in a safe space. We see people being taken care of and being able to eat good food, have good drinks in a beautiful space and safe setting. We see healthy interaction between feminine and masculine energy. We see people talking and not all in their phone, right? I mean,
listen,
I know you talk about it bringing in like technology and how that relates, but like everybody's not all in their phone. Like there's actual real human interaction. And so I don't know, when you think, and there is room for everyone to be heard, share thoughts. That is part of democracy to me, right?
And that's, that part is so intentional, making sure the space is one where we all can be heard and we're all encouraged and affirmed. But I want to say a couple of things in response to what you've laid out here. One that's really important. Your point about our lives on these screens, and on all of these devices, that's my why for flying back to do this in person rather than have just yet another digital space, right? We can do things hybrid, or we can do things on Zoom to invite our family who might live in other places, and we can use that capability. But we need that space where we're at the table looking at each other face to face. We have the context for our discussion. We have the body language. We really can connect on all of those levels. And so, that's why it was important for me to figure out how to actually get here to do it rather than offer something from out there on the West Coast, right? But the other part that you said that I think is really, really important, when you talked about community efforts in the context of the world being on fire and the nation, what we thought of as the nation going through these drastic changes where we know whatever comes out on the other side is going to be fundamentally different. It is easy to despair given the ruthlessness, the ugliness of the moment, and the fact that we're dealing with people in high levels of leadership in corporate and governmental settings who would rather burn the society down so they can do what they want to do with it. It is easy to despair in that. There's a lot of pain in this moment, right? And at the same time, and this is why what you were saying was so important to me, Toni Morrison would put it this way. She says, this is precisely the time when artists go to work. The fact that we know things are changing around us, this is the moment to begin to build. There's radical possibility even in the ashes. You were talking about being a phoenix, right? And Black folks have always had to be phoenix. And so this is a moment where we can put together structures that represent the worlds that I'm invoking historian Robin Kelly here, where we get to build what's worth fighting for rather than what we want to react or have to react against.
Yes.
Or let me flip it one other way. Earth, Wind, and Fire gave it to us this way. They say if there ain't no beauty, you got to make some beauty, right?
That's
So
right.
this is a moment where we can make some beauty with each other.
Yes. And that's our lane, right? That's what we do. As melanated people, we are like the ultimate alchemist. We take something that appears to be nothing or messed up and we turn it into art. Right? That's part of the
That's right.
magic of who and what we are. And so I think that creating intentional spaces for that is just a beautiful thing. So I celebrate UnBar University at UnBar Cafe. I want to remind people to check out and support UnBar Cafe, located at 12635 Larchmere Boulevard. 12635 Larchmere Boulevard. Dr. Banks, tell people about the upcoming cohort, when that's going to kick back up, what future plans you see or have for UnBar University, or anything else between your California to Cleveland agenda.
Yes. So I usually time each new session, or some people call them classes, with the quarter schedule that I'm on out there, at the university. And so we're about to start spring quarter at the beginning of April.
Okay.
And so our next sessions will start. I'm going to take the first week to just get back into the groove out there. But we're going to start again on Saturday, April 11th, from 2 to 4. And we'll be meeting every week for about 6 weeks. So 6 weeks every week from 2 to 4 at UnBar. And we're going to look at the work of Ruha Benjamin. She's a professor at Princeton, but this sister she's bad. When we say bad meaning good, bad meaning best, she has really looked at all of the ways that we deal with deep injustices because of everything. Right. And so she's got several really important books. Her latest one came out last year. It's called
Hold on one second, Adam. Can you go back? I'm sorry, because the thing froze. Can you go back to, I'm going to have to edit this part, but can you go back to Ruha? Was it Benjamin?
Yes.
Okay.
So
tell us again from Princeton. We'll pick up from right there.
Yes.
And she looks at the ways of injustice.
So to give a little background on her, her scholarship, she's got several books out where she looks at the ways that technologies make injustices worse. And she looks at ways that Black folks, people of color, people who want to organize can use, even with everything that's corrupt and messed up with technologies, can use those tools for justice, for community building. And so her latest book is called Imagination, a Manifesto.
Okay.
So we're going to read that together, but everybody's going to have a chance to do a little mini manifesto of their vision for something more just for us in Greater Cleveland, in the metro. Whether their focus is on community, if their focus is on healthcare, if what they care about is literacy and young people, whatever the issues are that matter to the folk who come through, have a chance to share their visions in conversation with what Professor Benjamin does in Imagination. And it's a short book. It's very easy to read. We're going to use that to spark our conversations, because it's always what we do around the table that matters, right? Whatever the books are or whatever we're reading together, that's just to spark what we do together. It's not about the books themselves. This is about what we do. Yes. So that's where we're going starting April 11th, and for 6 weeks after that.
I'm in, because I already got something in mind that I want to bring to fruition. But this is so exciting. This is so exciting to me because It's all the things we've talked about, but also think tank for solutions, like real solutions for society. And it doesn't take all this other, pontification, highfalutin BS that people get caught up in, and I have this, one of my manifestos. Okay, Dr. Banks, I want to try something on you. We got Let's maybe go. 20 minutes or so left. I feel that people who are running for office, especially the higher the office, a requirement should be that they have to serve so much time volunteering in a capacity of like someone that will be affected by the office that they're seeking, right? So for example, I deal with youth in the juvenile justice system regularly as a volunteer, as a mentor, as a speaker. I can tell you straight up, and we'll talk about this off the air, a lot of these youth in the Cuyahoga County juvenile justice system are not getting the tools that they need to help them not return to that place or to have some social emotional intelligence or conflict resolution, something like that, right? But meanwhile, there are people that have to run for office who oversee the budget for institutions like this. So I feel like before you could even be eligible to run for that office, you got to spend so many volunteer hours at this place that would that you being in that role of leadership would affect, right? So that you see things from a different perspective. So I don't know, I don't want to go too far off of like what we were talking about, but when you were talking about imagination, a manifesto, community coming together, what you are talking about and creating is like a real lab that's layered for a lot of things. And I hope our listeners will get from our conversation today that the power is with the people. We are in the age of Aquarius, which is all about the power returning to the people, right? We are exiting the age of Pisces, which had a lot to do with like illusion and being distracted. And now we are entering the age of Aquarius, which is all about power coming back to the people. And we are seeing how the old power structures are fighting because they want to retain things being like the old way. But when the people come together in community, in love, right, in bringing what resources we have to the table, then we realize, oh, we have the ability to help take care and look out for each other. And in the process of doing that, what can we work on or share that actually creates a real solution in the right now? And we don't need, this person in government to be present in order to make that happen. I mean, we still need to hold folks accountable because they do still work for us, right? But I think this is just, I'm so excited about this. Do you see or have a vision for expanding this, or do you feel like you just want to keep it an UnBar University? I mean, I know you're doing it, and you said you have done it in the places you've been before coming here, but in terms of the Cleveland area, do you see it staying at UnBar University, or do you see expanding to other places?
It's an interesting question. I see it in a couple of ways. So what Tom Joyner used to say when he had his show, you being an NABJ member, you're aware of this. Tom Joyner used to always say, we are going to super serve our audience. We're going to super serve our community. And so I have a lot of that ethos. My thought is I want to do the absolute best I can with this one idea for this audience, for our people. Now, there could be spin-offs where we take it, let's say we take it on the road, we'll have something here in this space where maybe people can't get to UnBar, or we can do something in this location. You mentioned you and I had a side conversation about some possible volunteering down at the center. It might be that a number of members of our group are willing to model a similar way of conversation with the young people there at the center, right? So that they can build their capacity and have ways to think together where they're not limited by, their situation at the moment. So there's certainly some other possibilities for efforts that can grow out of this. And I'm very open to that. And a lot of that's going to come from what the ideas that emerge from the group, right? So when you talked about a kind of incubation lab where what we're doing together can spark people's ideas and passions. And so there might be ideas that emerge that pockets of us say, hey, let's get down and let's build your idea up.
Yes.
And you can lead this based on your idea, right?
Right.
So the idea of a more action-based incubation lab is one direction that this certainly could kind of add or move toward as we keep growing together.
Of course, this platform and this show is called Conversations in Courage. So I got to ask you, like, how has your relationship with courage played into all that you're doing as Dr. Banks? I mean, we've been focusing quite specifically on UnBar University, but I know there are other facets to who you are and the work that you do. How does courage fit into all of that for you?
That's an interesting term because courage is sort of like, if you come up in community, you can't give yourself your own nickname. And so I believe I sort of believe the same thing about courage, right? Or it's like, for folks who pastor, I don't believe you can name yourself a prophet. Right. Your community has to bless you with that, right? And so I say that to say that I wouldn't use courage as a way to think about things that I've tried to do, even though there are moments that folks have shared with me that they thought there was courage involved in that. So I want to answer your question in this way. I have always had a stubborn streak, and I mean stubborn about vision, right? So I've been blessed that I've been able to put together a scholarly career doing work I care about that is focused on us and our traditions and our beauty and possibility, even if there wasn't necessarily a whole lot of space for that in the so-called academy. I've been stubborn about, even when I hit roadblocks in school, at Cleveland State, other places I've studied, that I've pressed on through them. And I've been stubborn about using whatever voice I have to stand up and advocate when I see folks going through it. And so I say all that to say I aim for courage, right? I have the same moments of fear or worry or stuff that everybody goes through. So in terms of encouraging your audience, one thing I want to say is, when we look at folks who've achieved certain things or people that we admire for actions that they've taken, they don't deal with any less nervousness than the rest of us do. They put their pants on, their dresses on one piece at a time like we do. And so we can be encouraged by the fact that even people who stand on courage, they still have their internal stuff to work through. Right. Forgive me a sidebar here.
No, you good.
Jeremiah Wright preaches a sermon about Harriet Tubman titled "Fragments of a Broken Life." And what he does beautifully in that sermon is talks about how the Creator will take our brokenness and still shape in us something that can serve somebody else. Yeah. And so no matter what we've been through, no matter what our struggles are, no matter with the difficulty. You mentioned kind of folks who came out of urban areas. That's very much my story. I grew up in the Huffway Park neighborhood in the middle of the crack era were my teenage years, right? So there were some day-to-day things that probably required some courage. So the essence of what I'm trying to get at answering your question is, so when it came to going to school, when it came to dealing with family stuff, when it came to dealing with neighborhood stuff, when it came to building a scholarly career, I've tried to stay true to my own vision and be stubborn about it. And that even when we have to push through certain difficulties, everybody that we admire, Toni Morrison used to say, even writers at her level get writer's block. Right. So we could take that and be encouraged to push through the difficult moments that we might have as we're trying to put our lives together.
Who are maybe a couple of people that you have looked to as models or inspiration?
Yeah, I try to draw that inspiration from a wide range of sources and people. So one of the things that's always a part of my teaching on campus when I'm doing the formal classes, the word I probably use the most with my students at Stanford is vernacular. And so what I try to do is lift up the power and the beauty and the possibility of our everyday folks. It's the practices that sometimes never get named that are where the real power is. You know, the folks who made the blues were in juke joints, excuse me. But that blues changed this entire society and offered some change to the world, right? For my hip hop heads out there, the power of hip hop ain't in the platinum sellers. No. The power of hip hop is sisters, brothers standing in those ciphers, working on their craft, and is what we believe in about what hip hop can be and ought to be, that gave people courage to push through all kinds of things in their lives in a way that's unapologetic, that's resistant, that's unassimilated. So in terms of drawing inspiration, the practices of our everyday folks, from our big mamas and our pops and folks on milk crates and around the way, even if around the way is in suburbs now. But to get to what I think is your actual question about individuals I draw inspiration from, my doctoral advisor, who's still in my life to this day, even though I finished grad school 23 years ago, Dr. Keith Gilliard. I kind of used the Bobby Womack song talking about him. No matter how high I get, I'll still be looking up to you, because not just because he's a brilliant and prolific scholar, but because he always had that heart for the people. And no matter what he accomplished, that never took away his heart for the people, right? And so I say that he gave me a vision of scholarly work that I could believe in. And so he's somebody who inspires me. My intellectual big sister, Dr. Elaine Richardson.
Okay.
She and I were sitting in classes together at Cleveland State. She was a master's student and I was an undergrad. So she had a few years on me or whatever. Then she went to study with Dr. Geneva Smitherman at Michigan State. Bad scholar sister. She might be a great conversation partner for you. She does incredible work on literacy for Black girls down in Columbus. Okay. Watching her rise and me being a few years behind her inspired me then at Cleveland State and now. So those are a couple of people. I'll give two other folks. Just musically, I draw a lot from their work. So I love Donny Hathaway and Roberta Flack.
Okay. Okay.
What they did through the music, especially in that era that we call the soul era. Donny, for all of his gifts, and he played the big venues, but he made magic in the smaller sort of jazz club or nightclub kind of venue, where he could be right there with the people, with the audience, and they could really vibe off of each other and give to each other. And then with Roberta Flack, her second album, Quiet Fire, like that title alone, forget the gift in her voice. That title, Quiet Fire, sort of captures what I aim for and how I do my work. I try to keep that passion there, even though I might present as a little bit more low key.
Yes.
But I want that passion to always be there and to always guide me. So those are a few people who inspire my sense of what I'm doing.
I love that. And I especially love what you said about everyday people. Because the people are powerful. The people are beautiful. Your bio, you said you're a midnight believer. And I wanted to ask you, what does that mean?
It really connects with what you were saying about not letting the wickedness or the evil in this era drive us to despair, right?
Okay.
That even in the most difficult moments, there's a reason for faith, and faith to keep pushing on, right? So I ground this idea of the midnight believer in a few different things. And the fact that I try to hold on to that faith through it all. Dr. King gave a sermon called A Knock at Midnight a few different times, as early as 1957 and up through 1962. His sermon, A Knock at Midnight, is magisterial. It's amazing. The short version, TLDR, is the times when we get that call that our neighbor needs us can often come at our personal midnights when we're going through everything and we feel like we have nothing left to give. And then B.B. King, my dad loved the blues, rest his soul. And so I got to listen to a lot of blues with him coming up. And B.B. King has a song, Midnight Believer. And the chorus in that goes, Midnight Believer, the night believes in you. And so sacred and secular, right? I talk about being both Saturday night and Sunday morning. Right. So it sort of makes sense that there would be a sermonic and a secular sort of inspiration for that midnight believer.
I love it. I'm checking my watch here or my timer to see. We got about 3 minutes left, Adam. So I have like these rapid answer questions. Fill in the blank.
Let's go. I'll do my best to be quick.
All right. Yep. What is the most courageous thing you've ever done?
I resigned as the national chair of an organization when I knew the blowback was going to be severe, and it was a stand for what I thought was justice. I'm not claiming it was right or wrong, but it took courage.
Okay. Success is
having something to give your people.
The best advice you've ever received.
I don't know if see, I know you said rapid fire. The best types of advice I ever get are when people show me the chessboard and where everything is and where it's likely going to go, rather than telling me to move that knight.
Okay.
Or to move that queen.
What is one thing you have had to unlearn on your journey?
Lack of confidence.
What is one thing that most people don't know about you?
I was a very shy boy.
Okay. When are you the happiest?
Listening to music on a long train trip.
Okay. We got about a minute 55 left. Is there like one more nugget of quick encouragement that you would like to leave with our listeners before we close out the show?
Have people to talk to about your ideas. It's in the give and take. It's in the call and response where you see, oh, this really could be something, or where you get that encouragement and it's not just something that's rattling around in my head. Talk to people about your ideas, whether you want to act on them yet or not.
I love that. Thank you, Dr. Banks, for joining me.
Thank you, Imani Capri.
Thank you. I hope you had a great time here. I hope you will come back. You are welcome here anytime.
I would love to return.
Yes, please. We can work on some topics and go there. We can do it.
Yeah, you're a wonderful host. You make the space warm and inviting, and you got wonderful questions. I love it.
Thank you. This is what I love to do. This is one of my things that I like to give to the community. So Like I always say, with courage, you can do anything, and energy elevation equals real life transformation. We got to go, but I hope you all enjoyed the conversation today with Dr. Adam Banks. Again, check out and support UnBar Cafe in Larchmere. I don't have the address pulled up, but y'all Google it.
12635 Larchmere.
There you go. And join us next week. Until then, stay safe. Peace.
Peace.